Hello everyone, it's Mr. Wallace here, and I am delivering you your final fractions lesson of the year because this should be the last video lesson you see before your summer holiday. And that topic is going to finish up with a little bit on using the order of operations in some fractions questions, okay? So we're just going to hop straight into this. We'll talk a quick reminder of BODMAS, just what our order of operations is, okay? It's just the word we use for our BODMAS problems. And then we're going to do some examples and just wrap straight up, okay? So to begin with, BODMAS, just as a reminder, is the order that we tend to prefer to do our sums in, okay? So what order do we want to multiply, divide, add, subtract, etc. in? And we always start that off with brackets, okay? So that's a B stands for brackets. The O we're not going to worry about too much today, but it stands for orders. You maybe have a wee chance to revisit this once you actually cover powers and indices later on in the course. The D is for division, M for multiplication, and then A, addition and subtraction, okay? The one important thing to note about this, if you haven't seen it in a while or you need a reminder, is you actually do your division and your multiplication at the same time, okay? And you do your addition and your subtractions at the same time, working from left to right. And the only reason we have brackets right up there at the top is the first thing we do is because we usually use brackets to slightly change this order. So say there was an addition you really needed to do before you multiplied, you would use brackets to kind of signify that. As an example of that very quickly, let's just look at this situation here. So say we had 2 times 2, and then we were adding on 5, okay? If you were to just follow BODMAS, you would do your multiplication first because it's above the addition, and you would get 4. 2 times 2 is 4, add the 5, and your final answer would come out as 9. Okay, but say that you actually wanted to multiply the addition of 2 plus 5, okay, by 2. You put a wee bracket in here to say, no, this bit's more important, we're doing this first, and it completely changes the outcome because we have 2 plus 5, okay, so we've still got 2 multiplied by 2 plus 5 is 7, giving us a final answer of 14. Okay. That's just a wee quick recap of why our bracket's at the top and what order we do the rest of it. And we're going to use that to get launched straight into a few examples. Okay. First pair of examples here, looking at it quite kind of straightforward, just 1 or 2 wee things to consider. And then we're going to get more and more in depth as we go along. So what I like to do when I'm getting into the swing of things here, and you don't need to write this every time if you're quite comfortable with the idea, is just rewrite it out and kind of keep yourself right as you go along. So we've got no brackets to speak of, so we're not worrying about them. And we also have no orders because we're not even worrying about them just now. Okay, but what we do have is we have a third times 2/5. So the next thing we're going to look at is this, a third multiplied by 2/5. Do that, all we do is multiply the top, multiply the bottom. I'm not going to spend too much time on the fraction work because you've had lots of videos to cover this. That will give you 2 over 15. Okay, and we still have to add on 3 over 5 to that. But we have no more multiplication division left, so that tells us we're ready to move on to addition and subtraction. So we're going to do this one. In order to progress with this, you should remember from one of the earlier videos, you need to have a common denominator, okay? So we have 15 and 5 here. You could multiply the two of them together, you'd end up with quite a big number. That can be a bit messy, so in order to keep things simple, how could we make this 5 into 15? We would just multiply it by 3, okay? If we do that to the 5, we have to do that to the top of the fraction. Keep everything equivalent. What we're going to end up with is 2 over 15 plus 3 3s are 9, 5 3s are 15, or 9/15. All we have to do then is just add the top lines together to get our final answer. We're going to end up with 11 over 15. And that's us done. Okay? And that's all that's really involved in this. It's just making sure you know to choose what sum to do in the right order. It does get a little bit trickier, but this is it for the most part in the simplest questions. Starting again with B over here. Okay, we have 9/10 take away a 5th divided by 5/10. We start off, there's no brackets, so we're not worrying about them just now, and there's no orders. But, as before, we do have a division or multiplication, and it's here. So we're going to start off by doing that, okay? Now, we still have the 9/10 at the front, but we're not worrying about them just now. We're subtracting from that 1/5. And remember, our rule here is that we flip the second fraction and change this to multiplication sign. So it's 1/5 multiplied by 10/5. Okay. We can cancel across here. Okay, these both divide by 5 to give us 1 and 2. What we're really doing is multiplying 1/1 by 2/5. So we're going to end up with 9/10, take away 1, 2, divided by 1 times 5. Okay, and that's us done for our division step. So, all that's left is a subtraction, so we're going to move on to that part of the process. Okay, that subtraction is this one here. Again, we need a common denominator. Okay, we've got a 10. How could we more easily make a 5 into a 10? Rather than multiply the two of them together, we just times this side by 2. We end up with 9/10, take away 2 2s are 4, 2 5s are 10. So 9 minus 4 gives us 5 over that 10. Now you might think you're done there, but could you simplify it any further? Hopefully we're all skilled enough at this to realise we could. They both divide by the 5, okay, so we're going to divide top and bottom by 5 to get 1/2. Okay, so our final answer is 1/2. And that's us done with that one as well. Quite straightforward to begin with. But we're going to look at a couple of slightly harder examples now. Okay, so for this next one, we've got a few steps to deal with, but we're going to go through them in an order that makes as much sense to us as possible. Okay, first thing we're going to have to do, say, is there a bracket we need to deal with? And you should notice we do have a bracket. It's here. It's going to ask us to add together 2/5 and 2/3. So we're going to start off by doing that. Okay, we need to have a common denominator. So in this case, there's no easier way to do it. We're just going to have to multiply this whole fraction by 5 and this whole fraction by 3. That should give us a common denominator of 15. 3 times 5. So on our next line, we're going to have 1 1/4, take away 3 3/4, sorry, multiplied by, then we're going to have this bracket to solve here. Okay, so 2 3s are 6 over the 15, plus 2 5s are 10 over the 15. That means if we just add these together and get rid of the bracket, because we'll be done with it at that point, we're going to have 1 1/4, take away 3/4, multiplied by 6 plus 10 is 16 over the 15. And that's us done with our bracket, sorted, okay? Again, we've got no orders to worry about. We're not looking at them in too much detail just now. We do have division or multiplication. It's this one here, okay? Now, you can make this one 10 times easier for yourself by following the instructions you've seen in the past, which is to simplify first, okay? So you're looking to cross simplify. So we've got 4 and 16 here. And you should hopefully see that they both have a common factor of 4. So we can get 1 here, and 16 divided by 4 is just 4. Okay? Again, with the 3 and the 15, do they simplify? Well, yeah, they both divide by 3. We just saw that up here. Divide by 3, you'll get 1, and 15 divided by 3, you will get 5. Okay? So, this multiplication just became very easy indeed. We're going to have our 1 1/4, take away 1 4 is 4, and 1 5 is 5 for 4/5. And now we look at it, we say we've got no more division multiplication, so we're on to our last step, which is addition and subtraction. Okay, that's what we're going to do here. First thing we need to do is change this to top heavy, so we're going to do 1 times 4 gives us 4, and add on the extra 1 for a total of 5. It goes on top there. From that, we're subtracting 4/5. Okay. Now, we can't do any cross simplifying here because we're not multiplying and dividing. We need a common denominator. Okay, so the only way we're going to get there is if we multiply this whole side by the 5 and this whole side by the 4. That's going to give us 5 5s, or 25. 5 4s are 20. Take away 4 4s are 16. 5 4s are 20. Now all we do for final answer is subtract the top line. So 25, take away the 16 is going to leave you with 9. Okay. And that's still over 20. And that will be your final answer. Okay, so hopefully no problems there. There's one other little thing I want to look at here, and it's going to come up towards the end of the video as a wee reminder. But we'll get into it as we go into question B here. So we have no brackets, nothing to work with there. We're done with the orders because there's nothing there. What we are going to look at is division and multiplication. Now, it might not jump out at you that there are any division or multiplication to consider here, but when we think about what 5/6 of 1 and 2/5 means, what we're really saying is multiply them together to get an answer. Okay, so that means we're going to use this step to do that. So here we've actually got a division multiplication to deal with. Not very nice equals. 2 and 1/3 plus, and we're going to have 5 over 6 multiplied by, and we have this one here is going to be converted from top to top heavy. So we've got 1 5 is 5 plus the 2 is 7 over the 5. Okay. We can make this a little bit easier for ourselves here by seeing that the 2 5s will cancel, give us 1s here and here. That means we're going to end up with 2 and 1/3 plus 1 times 7 is 7, and 6 times 1 is 6. Okay, and that's you done with multiplication because there's none left in this answer down here. What we are going to do is look at our final step, which is add and subtract, and deal with this one here. To do that, we're going to have to start out by converting to top heavy. So 2 3s are 6 plus the extra 1 will give us 7 over 3 plus the 7 over 6 that we had there. Now, this is one where we can find a slightly quicker way of getting a common denominator, and that would be to double the first fraction. Okay, if we just multiply all of this by 2, we're going to end up with 6s on the bottom. Okay, so 2 7s are 14 over 3 2s, 6, plus the 7 over 6. That's going to give us a final answer of just adding the top lines. 14 plus 7 is 21 over 6. Now, you have to think, could we change this back to a mixed number? Because we've been given mixed numbers at the start, and it's good practice to do that for your final answer, okay? So how many times will 6 go into 21? Well, 6 3s are 18, 6 4s are 24, so it's only going to go in that 3 times, okay? We have 3, and what's our remainder? If we take 18 away from this, another 3 over 6. You should, although that's tempting to stop there, notice that 3 over 6 simplifies. They both divide by 3, give you 1 and 2, and a final answer of 3 1/2. Okay, so that's a couple of examples where our steps are starting to build up a little bit. What we're going to do is look at one more example before we finish up that just has quite a few more steps, because you'll see these in the practice material and it's good to go through them. Okay, we have this example 3 here, which is 1/3 plus 7/9 take away 10 over 3 multiplied by 1/5, all in a big bracket, and then we're adding on 3/5 to the end of that. Okay, now The first thing we're going to have to do is look at the bracket, okay? But there's a lot going on in the bracket, so we're actually going to have to think about BODMAS within the bracket and how we deal with the order of things that are inside that bracket. So what I'm going to do here, just to highlight this to you, is give inside the bracket its own little list to think about, okay? So we don't have any brackets inside it, we don't have any orders inside it, but we do have a division multiplication. So we're going to deal with that first. Our next line is going to be 1 over 3 plus 7 over 9. Take away, and then we've got this here. We can simplify before we get started because the 5 and the 10 will cancel to give you 2 and 1. Okay. 2 times 1 is 2, 3 times 1 is 3. Can't promise it'll all be this easy when the time comes, but just to illustrate the point. Okay. We're now done with our division and multiplication inside the bracket, so we're going to look at adding and subtracting. We go from left to right, so we're going to start off by trying to add together these two. Okay, we need a common denominator, and the easiest way to achieve that is to multiply this side by 3. That's going to give us 3 over 9 plus 7 over 9. Take away the 2/3 and add on the 3/5. I like to keep everything in here when I'm working because it helps me see what's going on. We add them together and we're going to get 10 over 9 minus 2/3 plus 3/5. Lastly, we're going to do this subtraction here. Again, we need to get that common denominator, so we're going to multiply both top and bottom here by 3 again, and that will give us 10 over 9. Take away 2 3s are 6, 3 3s are the 9 we need, which will give us a final answer for inside the bracket of 10 take away 6 is just 4. So 4 9ths plus the 3/5. That's us dealt with everything inside the bracket, okay? There's a lot to deal with inside the bracket, but that means we can go back to our normal order of things. So we next look at what's left and say, no orders to deal with, and actually, we've not got any division or multiplication left to deal with either, so we're going straight on to our final addition sum, okay? Which is this one here. We need a common denominator. There is unfortunately no way to do this neatly. What I'm going to do is jump over here to give us a bit more space, okay? So we've got 4 over 9 plus 3 over 5. We're going to have to multiply the whole of this side by the 5 and the whole of this fraction by the 9. Okay, that will give us 4 5s are 20, 9 5s are 45. We're adding to that 3 9s are 27, 5 9s are 45. And then we just add our top line together, okay? So we will get 47 over 45. And it would be perfectly acceptable again to finish with a final answer of that because you've not got any mixed numbers at the start, but it is good practice to do the change to mixed number at the end. Okay, so how many times will 45 go into 47? Hopefully it's fairly straightforward for you there, it's just once. What would our remainder be? It would be the 2 from the 5 take away the 7. 7 take away the 5 even, sorry. Leaving us with 1 and 2 over 45 for our final answer. Okay. And that's the whole process of using BODMAS or order of operations within a fractions problem. Again, probably come back to the orders part of it in a little bit more detail when the time comes. But for now, you might want to think about watching this video a couple of times just to get your head around it. And while you do that, if you could think about how you can incorporate these two questions into your note, okay? Just to make sure that you're kind of helping yourself as much as possible, and even if they just show up as wee side notes next to the examples. But other than that, guys, this, as I said at the start, should be your last video before the holidays, so I hope you have a great summer holiday. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. If you have any problems with this at all, remember you can contact the teacher that's assigning the work to you and they will be able to help you out, no problem at all. Okay, have a good one.